On working through some technical learning, so please bear with me. Trying to figure out how to add people in this. No. Add to the string.
Hey,
There
Bill.
you go.
I'm here.
You're live on Gab. I was just playing around with this interface. The last time I think I have to invite you after I started.
Probably kicks off some.
Yeah. So and then minimize this. Going here, and then here is me sharing my screen. Go back to here. All right. Do you want me to add the other channels, or do you want to test this first?
Yeah, I mean, just add the other channels. I don't think there's anything wrong with being live on multiple platforms. And
Okay. Actually, we are streaming on all of them. So apparently my working. So there is a chat on Restream. Let's see. Nope. Oh, there it is. Chat. Okay. All right. Okay. So apparently we can chat with Twitch and YouTube. So, all right. Did you just do the browser? Did you have to create an account?
I logged in. It asked me to fill out my name and then an optional for a title if I wanted to put in something, and that's it. I just joined in.
Nice. Okay. That's pretty seamless. I was working on that. I saw this one guy yesterday on YouTube. His he calls his Clank, but his Clank, he had a browser extension for it. And I'm like, I now officially need one of those because that looked awesome. So that was my first stream today. This literally took like 5 minutes to build. It's not done yet. I gotta fix it, but
No worries. So, Bill, I had a question. Just thinking about staging. Do you have a more clear microphone? Because it sounds a little bit like you're talking through, like, the two cups on a string. It almost
yeah.
it's
So
a
that is
little,
better like this.
a little bit. I don't know. It just almost it sounds like we're on air, right? It sounds like you're in a soundproof
Maybe
room.
the microphone it picked is not the one. Oh, you know what? It picked the wrong one. Hold on.
Yeah.
How is this?
Oh, way better. And it sounds like you're.
I have a podcaster style microphone, sir.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, you sound great. How do I sound by proxy?
You actually sound a little muffled.
Really? Okay. What about now? Do I sound better?
Yeah,
That's better.
Yeah,
Much
that's
better.
much better.
By significant leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I also have a podcast microphone.
Yeah.
All right, so let me just move this a little closer. So,
All right. No, this is our first. So technically, we should be live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and I added in a Gab stream because they just added a new streaming service, so they'll be testing
what
that out.
about there's others like X or Rumble, like Mastodon. There's a ton, right? So
we can do that. However,
Yeah.
I basically have it's $50 a month right now. I basically have one more slot we could do, and then we have to go to the business plan, and it's like $2.99.
Oh man! All right.
A
So
month.
what do we have? We have Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Gab, and
No Facebook right now. I got to reactivate that link. I have Gab, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch.
Okay.
So, and then my camera setup's not great, so I have my camera turned off. But I'm gonna get a stand for it, and then I can do appear on camera type stuff.
Yeah. What I found interesting is that it's not the camera's fine, but I don't know why it's not giving me the blur option that it normally would in other platforms.
A delay, like a 5-second delay.
No,
Or
you don't have a
maybe
blur
they have
everything
that,
around me.
and I just don't know about it.
No. It's not you. It's the system itself doesn't have a blur option. So like everything around me is blurred.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
things in the
Yeah,
background.
that's probably Restream. I was playing with OBS, which is also an option. I think
Huh?
this one made it a little bit easier to connect up to everything, but I
This is
don't think
fine.
connecting
This is
OBS.
more of a. These are more like fine tuning. Like maybe if I had an account, it would give me that option.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, for
It is
sure.
pretty intuitive, though. I like the way this is set up.
I like it. It's just in my browser. I didn't have to install anything, which was
Yeah,
nice.
right. Like
Really
I don't.
hate installing random software on my computer.
You know what I'm curious about though? You had to sign up for an account, correct? Because you had to pay to.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, yep.
So I'm curious where this live footage lives after this is over. This event.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
if
I'll
you,
show you. I'll show you after we're done. Like I can end the stream, and then they keep a copy. There was also an option to record it locally,
okay.
which I didn't check this time, but we could definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, just because it's important to keep your own content, and then the thing about this is these live stream content is you want to clip it up. Like, and there's like AI videos that do this now. Like, you want to hire, you could always hire an editor, but they
Yeah,
would just pick parts of the stream out and clip this up for like a short, like you know how like YouTube has YouTube Reels or Instagram Reels, like
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever, like short form content. They would
yeah.
just clip out this whole however long we're live for, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then clip out like 30-second slots of something funny or something like very informative about what we're discussing, and then that would get traction and that would drive people to see the content and look to see more and then want to watch the long form content, which would be this.
Yeah.
So the reason why
I,
I think having the videos locally is because if not, we have a dependency on a provider like
yeah,
Restream, and if they go down or we can't access the video, they lose it, right? Then
yeah,
it's just too bad. And the content we're creating is important. So I would say that it might be better to end the stream and then restart it with having a local copy be sent to us, because after that we can clip it up and edit it and do all this other stuff. But I
yeah.
also was thinking about building out a NAS drive for us, for just even for myself, and get like the some serious like terabytes, because it's never going to be cheaper than now.
I already have one. When we come up on when I come up to see you this
Huh?
weekend, I'll bring the extra. I have an extra NAS drive. It's not as big as the other one I have, but I think Amazon spent like Tim's Plex server runs off of NAS that I
Yeah,
purchased. He's got like 20 terabytes.
yeah. Because the thing is, I was going to buy some of the drives because they make Western Digital like literally 20 or 30 terabyte drives now, like single drive. So if you have a NAS server that holds 3 drives, I could potentially have 90 terabytes of data just buying the new drives
Insane.
itself. I know it's nuts. They're at 36, but I think 36 is sold out. 32 is still available, and often I think more available is like 28 or 30. But
Yeah,
crazy to think about. Like people are still talking about 2 and 4 terabytes, like that matters. You know what I mean? Like
for
nuts.
sure.
But it's harder to read and write on those. But for like
Yeah,
video
I
editing,
would love a NAS that was all M2.
yeah.
That would be awesome.
And there, dude, the M2s even there's like 8 terabyte or 12 terabyte. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was 12, but I know 8 is definitely available now. M2, which is nuts.
Yeah,
So you could, if you have got what 2 slots or 3 slots, you could have 16 or 24 terabytes of M2. Nuts, super nuts. Definitely overkill, but like again, as we look at like this modern world and like video
yeah,
content,
yeah.
live
I
streaming,
actually would not mind
yeah,
basically archive of the free models. Like I really think like
that's what I have.
let's just
I
say the
have,
whole internet went down, right? And you have all these models, you basically have the whole of human knowledge in these models, and you just have to find some way, to run it locally, basically.
I mean, dude, I've downloaded all the models that I could fit, and I have GPT OSS 120. I have the 20 gig. I have all the Quinn models that are relevant, and even unbliterated models or the uncensored models. I've got Mistral. I've got everything you would need. So, and that's less than 2 terabytes of storage, which is what I have. I think it
For
comes up
sure.
to like 800
For sure.
800 gigs all in that I have in this on just models. So, Yeah. Let me know if you could bring the NAS down, because then I could get that set up here. And then
Yeah.
what we would do is just write to the NAS as well.
Yeah.
Is it available over the internet as well? Can we make it like public? Like
Yes.
kinda like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So if that's the
Yeah.
case, then we can have it that way, and then the content stream from here can save there, and then we can either hire an editor or figure it out ourselves, or what we do best is implement AI, because I know there's some AI editing services out there. Implement AI to just figure it out. And make it our own.
Video, like AI video editing, I haven't explored a lot. I just feel like it's going to be super expensive. Like I'm sure there's services out there that they're reasonably priced, but like I have not done anything with video. That and the whole argument on creators' rights and that kind of thing.
Well, the thing is, we're creating this content. So, like, the thing is, like, it would be a video just like this, showing me, and then if you're on camera, and then the screen, right? And it would be a discussion that is important or relevant to like the space, and the AI would take a look at the whole script, right? Like the whole transcript, and say, okay, Patty said this question, and then Bill answered it eloquently, and then he showed this on screen. Let me clip together this information and put it all together in a format that's packageable, and then and that's just like a basic edit, right? That's not including like transitions, fancy stuff. The screen explodes, like a cat appears and spins around, like all the meme stuff people do, like the random crap. That does improve retention. Some people are like, oh, that's funny, right? Like, I like that they're not just telling like a boring story. They've got like a random rainbow cat flying across the freaking screen, and
we could do that for sure.
Yeah, but like
let me click some buttons.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the engagement. Like, nobody wants a boring presentation. Like, even if the content is interesting, they still want their bells and whistles and everything under the sun. And I don't blame them. I'm the same way. When I'm watching content, I want to see something that's going to make me laugh, or some smooth music, man.
AI generated chill music. All right, let's see what happens when I volume it.
Perfect. As long as we don't have to scream over it. I mean, it works for me.
All right, let's All right, enough music.
Let's see. I'm going to go to GPT, because everything AI, right? I'm going to say we are starting.
You want to share your screen?
First live stream. Yeah, no problem, dude. Give me a sec. I'm going to share.
I'll show you how we use AI. Like, pretty much use AI for everything.
How do we use it? Just like this. All right.
Yeah. All right. I just heard some weird dingy thing, and now there's 4.
4 what?
Pat. Okay, I see what it was. It's letting me know that you want to share your screen, and I have to turn you on, and then I turn my share screen off. There we go.
All right, we are starting our first live stream, and understand, just like any show, there needs to be a cohesive stream of thought, intros, discussion about the niche topics we'll cover, broad into those topics.
Is that Codex? Did you download it? Or
I have access to it. I just haven't downloaded it yet. I haven't felt like it.
I gotta be honest, like picking AI providers, I don't know, something about Sam Altman just bothers me.
I think it's important to separate the art from the artist. You know what I mean? And I think obviously what folks are saying about Sam Altman totally could be true, right? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the guy personally. I don't know, if everybody's lying. I don't know if there's paid actors. It's such a different ball game when you get to like the level of GPT. I mean, it's a globally noticed company, fastest company to 1 million subscribers. I mean, there are people that want to see you fall off the podium and pedestal, right? So I mean, I don't know enough.
I don't know. Like I like ChatGPT for doing chats and like just like interacting back and forth with the model in the browser. For doing work, and to be fair, I haven't done it with OpenAI, but for doing work, I really just prefer Claude CLI. Like it just works
Well,
for me.
here's the thing, Will. We need to preface that even when we first started, GPT was a natural starting point for anyone.
Yeah, for sure.
AI. We have sunk in so many countless hours, 100, 120, 140, God, hours a week on AI that it's just we started with GPT, and then obviously it has its limitations. And Anthropic, literally, if you look at like the whole scheme of how Anthropic began, it was a mass exodus of the folks that didn't want to work at OpenAI and said, we're going to come and start our own company and have the values that we want and all the things that they espouse that their company represents. And then they came out and they built their own models in direct competition with OpenAI. And I do believe their focus at the onset was enterprise from the initial, whereas GPT still a bit confusing about what they want. Like they are obviously competing in the enterprise scale with Codex but yeah, you're right. It's broad market, right? Like they're focused on consumer adoption first and foremost. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that because, what you're using every day kind of bleeds into what you're going to use at work.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't disagree. I think GPT has its limitations, and especially in a software solutions company like ourselves, there was a natural shift towards using Claude. And we've tried some others. We've tried, the Chinese apps, MinMax, Quinn.
Some of those models are outputting Chinese way more often than I think. Like it's, I don't want to say it's not worrisome, but like sometimes I'll be working with the agent and then they'll just respond in Chinese. And again, it's not necessarily an issue, but it is different.
Well, you want it comes back to what we've talked about, which is non-deterministic outputs. And if we're asking it in English, I get that the token usage, like there's so many things behind the scenes that go into models that we can spend the rest of this conversation going into. But tokens are optimized in Chinese, like because it's just less tokens to get the same question across. And also, if you think about who's using the Chinese models, most often it's Chinese users, right? Or users that speak and read Chinese. So
yeah, sure.
I do understand why it is. And they're a larger population size anyway. So it kind of is more natural for the models to be non-deterministically leaning towards providing a Chinese response.
Yeah, sure.
As an output. It's just from an American standpoint, like where you're trying to, like, I guess technically we could do a translation layer, right? Like that would be the solution if it really was economically feasible and made sense. If we're like, you know what, we're just gonna have to live with this problem of what we are tackling and framing as a problem is that sometimes the output is going to be Chinese. We're going to need to build a translation layer in the output response and then move forward with that as a solution. I think what I'm most interested in, I guess we haven't discussed this at length. I'm curious, has this impacted the agent work in any way? Because it's still behind the scenes. It's robot to robot.
No. I think you could definitely see a difference in tool calls between like a DeepSeek and a Claude or Sonnet or Opus. I definitely think the free models are they're catching up on tooling, but I don't think it's not as natural for those models to research out on tool calling. It's an interesting thing, especially if you think about like one of the things we had to do. We got Atmobot hosted in Azure, the gateway portion in Azure. I had to create a dispatch agent so it could take actions on whatever machines were connected to that gateway. Oh, look, there's Amber.
Hi, Amber.
All right.
Thanks for listening and joining in.
Yeah, got one viewer. Woo. Hey, gotta start somewhere, right?
I know, right? Like I'll take it. somebody like ZAI, the GLM format, they just published a release, and it's just so difficult. Like you and I have been dogfooding this from like day one, and we keep abreast just because it's been inserted into our feeds, our social media feeds, our news feeds, like the daily emails we get. But like GLM released, and supposedly they're pretty good for tooling. I haven't tried, honestly, but they, I think, worked directly with like OpenClaw and tried to figure out like we need this harness, and that gets us into today's conversation about harnesses. We need this harness to work more reliably with our model, with our LLM.
Right now, their new model's hosted. It's free on OpenRouter.
Who is?
NVIDIA. They released one of their models. I just noticed that, and it's free on OpenRouter right now. Just a heads up for anyone who wants to use any of the free models that are being hosted on a provider like OpenRouter. Keep in mind that the reason why they're free is because they're going to use your interactions with those models to train their models. And so, but the NVIDIA one, I think it's a 1 trillion parameter model, which is just crazy. Those model parameters have ramped up hard, and now they're doing this thing where it's a trillion parameter model, but they only use like 10 billion per turn. So they're kind of optimizing it. So they're combining a bunch of models. They're doing the MOE model of experts like vision and voice and all the different features and capabilities of a model. And then, but when you query the model, it's faster and it's cheaper because it's only using the slice that you need. So if I ask for an image generation, it's just going to use the slice of the model that does image generation. It's not going to use the whole model. So you're not taking up all that bandwidth with your parameters going into the model.
Yeah. I'm just getting our point together. That's why recent discussion. New edition. But we want to inform our viewers on the importance of harness engineering and what a harness can bring to the table. Deterministic versus a non-deterministic. Okay, let's see. Let's
all
see
right,
what 5.2 gives us. I think this is the latest and greatest from OpenAI. So, all right. So, Bill, some backstory, right, for folks that are not aware of who we are, what we do. Could you just give like an example? I mean, we could talk about our historical credentials and everything about, why we're experts in the space. But I really think we should just start from August of last year, August 2025,
I agree,
because it's just so relevant. I'll kick us off with, we had a client come to us, and we are a software solutions company specializing in integrations, but any bespoke software requests we would absolutely tackle for the right price. And we had a client that pitched us a request to build a customer onboarding platform. And we had all the idea of bells and whistles and various fields and requests, and how to set up the login, and how secure this data needs to be, and how many feeds would it have to go to, what kind of integration points does this need to filter down and waterfall into. And we scoped it out and priced it fairly for the market, even considering nearshore, offshore capabilities, right? We've been and remain primarily an onshore American dev shop. And what we came out with we thought was a fair price. And Bill, I would love for you to just take it from there and discuss what happened and what led to this revolution and how we took a look at our careers and the space of software and just flipped it on its head. And I'd love to hear it from you because 30 years in the game, this is a young man's game. So you surviving and not just surviving, but winning in this space is so important for others to recognize. But I think what's most relevant is just like the kind of like I don't want to say the death of what you experienced in your career, right? But I know it was like a pivotal moment for you in how you take a look at software and how it's developed. So I would love to see you take it over from here.
Yeah. So as Patty was mentioning, the client came back and said I could basically vibe code this for significantly cheaper than our offer, and
And wasn't it? It was insulting too. Like it was a point where it was a dollar figure where it was so low that you took it as an affront, and as well as I, to the skills and what we charge.
Yes.
And I think that was what we couldn't wrap our heads around, where it was me very frustrated. And it was actually you, Bill, that said, you know what? We have an obligation, right? You know, that whole customer is always right, to go investigate this and see is this really true? Because it's so insulting to the point where if it's true, this is like paradigm changing.
Yeah.
That was what you told me. And I said, okay,
Yeah.
fine. We'll do that. So go ahead.
Yeah, and so I went out and I vibe coded my first app, and to this day I still don't agree with vibe coding. I'm just going to say that up front. I think you're going to get in a lot of trouble if you vibe code your app and go into production. You need an engineer, deployment, security, all those things are important, and the robot's good at it, but it's not going to catch everything. You need to have trained eyes on it. I'll just say that up front. And so I vibe coded my first app, and I was kind of just blown away. The speed that it produces code, the output at the time, so this is last year, wasn't great, but it also wasn't horrible. And I learned quickly that I could guide it to get the code exactly the way that I wanted it engineered in a fraction of the time. And so that was my initial push in. And I've been hearing a lot about vibe coding, and for you other engineers out there that may be listening to this today or in the future, it was a shift. It was a huge shift in thinking. Like I had to let go of the fact that I write code. Like was just a huge hurdle for me on like that's what I spent 30 years doing. That's the skill that I mastered. It's a skill that I had anticipated. I'm going to be turning 50 in June. It's a skill that I anticipated would take me into retirement. And all of a sudden it wasn't out of a job at the time, but I could see the writing on the wall. Like anyone can sit down and write any app, and we'll go through sessions and we'll write stuff and we'll show you how to get the robot to do what you want and how to check your code and do all those things. But the cost of writing code has gone down to near zero. It's basically your subscription cost right now, which is for us is like $200 or $400 a month, and we just are outputting code 10 times, 20 times faster. We're able to bring our prices down. The project that used to take us a month, we're wrapping up in days to a week. And yeah, it's been an amazing adventure, an amazing ride. And if you're just getting started out on it from an engineering perspective, you just have to take a deep breath. You have to mourn the loss of what you thought you were doing, because this is a major change. And then you have to shift your thinking into, it's actually interesting because it's been more of a management mindset on like, I need to accomplish these tasks, and how am I going to get these several agents to go in and just do this task? I try to go for the least touches on the keyboard possible. It's just a personal challenge. And does it work better if I write specs? Does it work better if I have unit tests? And then just trying to find that right mix.
And I think you hit it right on the head, Bill. It's a management lens of how you look at your source code, and it's almost like you're, I don't want to say coaching like a junior, because at this point I would say you still have to dive in at times, and there's some detangling that does need to happen. But even that was like
I
early
don't
on.
detangle anything. I just tell the
Well,
robot and let the robot detangle it, man.
but
You don't want to go in. You shouldn't be. I haven't had to touch code in a year.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. When we
Yeah.
first started this journey, and all, because I really want to give like a clear, structured, like how folks that are coming from this traditional, weird to say, but traditional framework of, we write source code and this is what we do, and then you're kind of giving some hands off to a non-deterministic model to produce code for you, and then it comes back and it's pretty good, and you might feel the urge to touch or play around or just change variables. And I mean, in some areas, maybe they, the source code that it published was like static variables. You needed some of them to be, um, uh, variable, like, sorry, I'm losing the context of what I have to say for the nitty gritty industry terms, but dynamic variables. That was it. And that you might want to just go that in yourself and do it because it's easy. But to your point, figuring out how to prompt the model or the robot or whatever you want to call it at this point, to get it to do it itself, or using another model to be able to go correct the source code that the previous model fixed or wrote, is probably the only path forward, right? Like, you would agree, Bill? Like, there's no, like, you almost want to go in and do it, even if it's easy, and that's something that you had to yourself flex that muscle and develop it and say, no, it has to be the robot doing everything, because if not, then you're not going to be prepared for what the future is going to bring. Am I incorrect?
Yeah, because like we've identified in our organization, as we've gone through this change, we've identified basically 3 steps that every business is going to go through at some point in time. Number one is figuring out what you have. Like, what do I have technology wise? What apps, internal apps do I have? What databases do I have? What third party apps am I connected to? Where am I from a technical standpoint on a business? And then number 2 is you take something like Codex or Claude CLI and you give that to some, or I wouldn't necessarily recommend all your employees, but you give it to some of your employees, and then you start working on getting gains using Claude CLI, using Codex, and learning how to set up projects, learning how to set up your repos for any code that gets generated, learning how to do the standard engineering practices required if you're going to be using it to write software. Running it just for business is an entirely different thing. You're still going to go through the same process. Your output's just not going to be code. Your output's going to be some modified Excel file or some PowerPoint presentation or some I had to connect up to the database and run these analysis, and I'm double checking my numbers. I'm going to send this over to my boss. There's different workflows that you could do here. And then the third step, where you get the biggest multiplier, is when you go to the agentic step. And that is something you have to evolve to, because you can't just jump into agents, because first of all, you have to build trust. It's critical to build trust in the agents, and the agent is doing the work in the way that you expected, and that will save you some major headaches downstream. So there's a human in the loop for a minute. You start setting up your agents. These agents start doing work on a schedule when some event happens in the organization on some things, and these agents go out and just do that work. But you have to build that level of trust first, and then when you go to full agentic, like we have on the back end of Atmosoft, all of our back end office processes are handled by agents. We trust them. We've tested them. And then you see the bigger multipliers. Like, I would think when I initially started using Claude CLI, I was working with a company, and there was another senior developer there. Great guy, super qualified. Shout out to Justin. Super qualified. And I was outproducing. I was outproducing code because I was using probably 2, 3, sometimes as much as 4 times faster, and I was just using Claude CLI. And then to get the bigger multipliers, you have to have built the foundation. You have to have the team trained on using the tool, and then you jump into the agentic, and you get the the 10x, the 12x returns on what the agents are doing. But you have to know what you have, and you have to identify the work. And then one of the things we noticed recently too is you got to identify where you need rented intelligence. So that's what these models are providing for you. It's like intelligence as a service.
Well,
And
Phil,
yeah,
let me pause you, because you're saying a lot, and I really want to make sure we can have folks step through this and really glean the key information we're trying to tell folks is that the reason why you need to work and depend solely on the models writing the source code and no longer step through it yourself and involve yourself is, even if you want to, even if it's these small low-hanging fruits, that it almost would appear quicker for you to just go in and make the edits yourself, is to get to the point where you're at the agenticized world, because the agenticized world takes you to a more systems design approach, and you're no longer just stepping through one application. You're designing an entire process for an entire system or an enterprise that now can move data from one application to another, or do tasks, or kick off workflows, anything under the sun. So it's such a different muscle, and that's what you're saying is where this industry and where software developers are going to be moving towards.
Yes.
Am I capturing that right?
Yeah,
Because I just want to make sure folks understand what, like,
Yeah.
again, it's not that you can't do it. It's just you're not going to want to waste your valuable mental energy doing writing source code anymore, making any edits, just because you're going to be busy in other areas. Exactly what Bill was alluding to with rented intelligence. You're going to need to figure out how to fine tune almost like an HVAC system of how warm or hot or cold or anything under the sun you're going to have your environment be in. How much AI are you going to include in your agents, in your workflows, in your solutioning? Because there's going to be a cost. Like right now, we're at a crucial, pivotal moment where a lot of venture capital, private equity, and private investors are funding the large frontier models. And a $200 subscription for Anthropic right now, I believe the latest, we're in April 2026. They're losing about, at least in March, $4,800 per subscription, because the amount of compute that developers like Bill and others who are like early adopters are figuring out. This is like the most ripe time to like figure this out now, while it's still cheap for us to do so, because moving towards the APIs, and which already Anthropic has pushed, and I believe OpenAI has followed suit. And I expect fully that the Chinese developed models are going to move towards that eventually as well. Is that there's going to be a real cost to those APIs. They're going to recoup costs. They're going to look to be profitable, and it's not going to be a loss leader anymore. And that's where figuring out how much intelligence outsource do you actually want to pull in for your solutions is going to matter the most. It's not going to be, and again, there's still a need for source code, but it's almost going to be like a, God, I'm trying to think of like a physical way to describe it. Almost like,
I think a good example of is I've spent hundreds, if not thousands, of hours on our port of OpenClaw, which we call Atmobot, and realized the other day, like I just need to give it away. Like it honestly doesn't matter. I'm holding on to it because I'm like, oh, the secret sauce and all the magic prompting I gave it and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is you could just go do it. like we did some cool. We have some cool stuff in our modified version. It's more enterprise ready, but to be honest, there's nothing magical about the code anymore, right? And
Yeah.
think about this in terms of SaaS companies too. Like it's just okay. You're paying $200 a month for your QuickBooks subscription. Not knocking on QuickBooks, but just the idea that comes to mind, right? I'm paying $200 a month, or whatever I'm paying for QuickBooks. Maybe I don't need to spend $200 a month on QuickBooks. Maybe I could just roll my own version of QuickBooks that's run internally, and it does everything I want it to do. It connects to all the systems I want to connect to, and I'm just done with it. Like this is the major thing that we're living into, or we're moving into, where people are going to start realizing, like, hey, like this software product is costing me $500,000 a year. Do I need to pay $500,000 a year for this? Is questioning on that kind of stuff.
Bill, you've nailed it, and I think I've got my example is that with models now developing source code, we basically have an assembly line of software engineering moving forward. We're at the Henry Ford. You can roll off whatever you want as fast as possible, and everybody now has that across the board in the industry. Everybody can use Anthropic, OpenAI, DeepSeek to develop an application in seconds. That's why there's such a decline in SaaS companies this year. And investors are just realizing like what is really the moat for this application any longer, other than the stickiness they have with the current contractual agreements, which still could even be canceled by those by the clients. So, to your point, it's really about how tightly intertwined your AI is with your overall software. What we see in the future moving forward is MCP is the best scenario right now, what folks should be thinking about implementing into their software stack, right? You need to build an MCP server connecting to your niche application point blank. There's no doubt about it. There are some arguments that is this the best way to interact with an agent and the tooling involved. Bill, I mean, you and I were just talking about that this morning about what if we had the agent directly connected to the database and the kind of complexities and risks that undertakes. It is almost easier in every facet right now in April 2026 to just build an MCP server, hook it up to your existing application, and just move from there. That's probably the best way to get started.
You want to gate access, and you want the model's access to be to number one, be gated. That's what the MCP server does. And then you want the model interacting with your app the same way that a user interacts with your app on the back end. What MCP is Model Context Protocol, and it can sit on top of your API. It could be in addition to your API, but it's a more agentic way for agents to interact with your environment. So an agent can absolutely be hooked up to run against your API, but then it's got to, build the payloads. It's got to do the queries. And maybe you want the agent to, instead of getting a list of orders, finding the order, and then calling all these endpoints on your API, maybe the MCP is just create an order and pass me all this information. And then the MCP server is what handles just doing all that grunt work. It's basically extracting up one more level where we're trying to make our systems more friendly for interactions with agents.
And MCP, I know other folks who are in this space may say, why are we pushing MCP? There's other protocols or other ways to build this mousetrap. For me, it's just like the DVD or the Blu-ray. It's just the one winning out the most right now, and the most probably going to be the most widely adopted. So why fight against this trend and try to be a contrarian and in an already bleeding edge space? It's just MCP, in my opinion, right now, April 2026 is going to win out. So just
I think so too.
MCP server. Like there's no, you can do whatever you want, but you're fighting against the current here. And it doesn't mean there won't be niche scenarios where other protocols might be better in regulated industries or for specific niche cases, intra-enterprise or extra enterprise, any of those under the sun. But right now, MCP is probably the go-to gold standard of what we would recommend. That is probably going to see massive support for not just developers, but regular business users or just users of the application as a whole, because hooking in their agent tooling directly into the application they're using daily will see leaps and bounds improvement of the output of their work.
MCP is kind of a slightly cleaner way to think too, because we have all these API layers that we've already built. It like what you were saying is like MCP is just it should sit on top. Like I'm not saying rewrite all your APIs into MCCs. I'm saying take your APIs and expose them as MCP servers so the agents can work with your application at kind of as it stands.
Yeah. So let's circle back, because I feel like we're there's valuable information here, but I really want to have folks stay on topic. So we started in August of 2025. That was like the slap in our face. A client came in insultingly low on a counter bid. You were like, Patty, we've got to explore this. Like I refuse to believe somebody who's an executive sponsor to this project would say this without without the knowledge of what this would cost traditionally, and give this insultingly low bid unless there is some meat to this bone, like on this bone, that there is something here. So we explored it. We absolutely were just in awestruck about how great the models and how great the work was. And again, we don't use the term vibe coded because we're a traditional engineering firm. We've done this for a number of years. We're not just picking this up. We've done this to make a living for many decades combined as in the company. And we have best practices aligned for, we've got certifications to tout. We like the term AI augmented development for short, but that is the way to do it. And it's what Bill's describing, which is taking your model, prompting it to give you the correct output of your source code, and then continuing to evolve it to a point where you actually never have to touch it yourself, whether that's continuing to prompt the same model or the same context window with that, improvements, or to take the entire context out, put it in another chat, or use a different model entirely to cross compare and see what the first model was missing, right? So there's numerous ways for it to be done. I don't think there's yet a right way. And I think based on the competitive nature of just who's pushing models out, I think that will continue to be the secret sauce for what developers really can say, here's what works best for me, and here's how I get the best quality code for my my shop. So that's why, again, circling back to the focus of spending time doing any type of software development anymore and writing source code is taking time away from you learning this, which is really what you need to know, is how do I prompt my models, which models to use. If I've gotten 90% there, can this context window take me? Can I get to 99? Can I get to 100? And also accepting that even in traditional software development, it's not like bugs didn't get pushed to production, right? I mean, like there's gonna be a level of acceptance of what you're willing to say, let's call it done, and push it, even with using the models. Am I wrong there, Bill?
No. Absolutely. And there are major differences, or there are differences both personality wise and like just on your interactions with the model. And certain models, like you're saying, will be more capable for sure.
Yeah, and like even the use of like Claude versus OpenAI. Claude, the way
At those two levels, I don't think there's much of a like output wise. I'll admit, not a huge fan of Codex. I've definitely used it, and I definitely use ChatGPT for doing this type of stuff because that's what I started with, and so I still go back to it. But there the quality of code is so similar. You should go with this is gonna sound weird. You should go with the model that you feel the most comfortable with. Like to be honest, on the premium models, I don't see any difference in the code output. I've done trials across Codex, across anti-gravity, using Gemini, across over to Claude, and it's more the difference for me personally from an engineering perspective has come down more to like I just like interacting with this model better.
And Bill, that's a great another point of why I'm caring so much and like really hammering into why engineering talent shouldn't spend time writing software anymore, is because you're going to need to explore all those options, right? Like there's going to be a limit where, okay, I'm out of tokens for Claude, or I'm out of tokens for anti-gravity, and I'm going to just swap over to Cursor, or I'm going to swap over to VS Code. Like you're going to want to use and burn every single bit of tokens possible.
Yes.
Okay? And you're going to need, that's a skill that's not something that anybody teaches. Or why are you switching to a different IDE, or why are you asking a different, like switching CLIs? That's going to be something you're going to have to get used to, just because again, that the window of time where you're getting the most value per buck, per dollar, is slowly shrinking. And when these models are when they're finally turning a profit, the development world will feel it, right? The early adopters are going to say, I remember back when I could build an entire app for 10 cents, right? Or whatever, $20. And I mean, that's just not going to be true anymore. It's just not. Like it's a business just like anything else, and they're racing to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, you'll still be able to build an app for a quite reasonable price, but it's not going to be for like what these early adopters, what we've been able to get to And we're seeing that every day. Like, Anthropic knows, OpenAI knows, right? Like DeepSeek knows. Everybody's aware about the early adopters, how badly the compute has been abused by these heavy power users, and they're already clamping down, right? And I would put us in a power user category, but I know there's others that are spending like $5,000 a month in tokens, right?
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know if they're optimized. I don't know if they got like algorithms for token compression, things of that nature.
We're a small business. My,
Yeah.
my spend is watched carefully. So I want to find that line of where's the most work that the model can do for the cheapest cost. And Patty nailed it on the you have to try it out. In fact, I'll do this workflow. I'll build something with Claude, and then I'll switch over to anti-gravity and have anti-gravity check it.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. That level of like, it's just such a different part of your brain that you're exercising, that this is why we're so adamant about stepping out of writing source code anymore. You have to be able to just flex other muscles, and you're still going to get, at the end of the day, the same output, whether you wrote the source code or not, but utilizing these various practices. And again, you get into like heavily regulated spaces where you're, clean room type environments where you have to audit every single piece of line of code, how it was written, who developed it, and what, where, and why. Adding that complexity to what we're describing is even another challenge that I would question whether that's solved yet.
Yeah, and I think there you're gonna see this like when we were talking with a client earlier today, you're gonna see this hybrid approach where we try to do as much as we can, and this is where engineers are going to shift. Like this is where the money value is going to be for the next couple of years. Is in it. We haven't talked a lot about it, and I won't go into harnesses yet. But you're going to see it shift over to lost my train of thought. So you're going to see over time. You're going to just start slowly seeing the shift. I don't think engineering is going to go away. I think it's where I was heading with that one.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of were touching on it with agentic, but just what you need to care about to get the same output you were getting in 2023, 2024, but now 10x, 20x, whatever that might, X might be, depends on the level of comfortability and versatility that you have in utilizing all the various assets under your belt. Right.
Yeah.
Like if you're turning away, like I don't like anti-gravity and it sucks and I don't want to use that IDE, or I don't want to use Cursor, I just want to use VS Code. You're more than entitled to do the things the way you want to do them, but the market will respond to that value in turn, right? And if another engineer can use everything under the sun and maximizes that token output per day and gets more done, then there will be a reason why they're working somewhere getting paid more. I mean, that's just the reality, right? Like if you're not burning all the tokens you can every single day, it's like wasted time, right? Because it's rented intelligence. And again, the price is being more and more constrained every single day about what value you're getting out of these frontier models. So I would argue you're getting the most value right now in April 2026 than a year from now in April 2027, right? It's only going to get more constrained, and the folks that are just doing exactly what we're describing are going to be the winners in the long term. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be work for other folks. It doesn't mean that somebody that's just dedicated to one IDE is still not going to be successful for a small business or like a small shop. It doesn't mean that that's not possible, but we're just trying to give a broad perspective about where the industry is headed and what we ourselves are practicing and how we run the business, right? Like, quite frankly, in order to be profitable, we've got to be scrappy. We've got to do all the things that we're describing.
We need to be
like
fast.
we're not dog fooding this.
Faster, while we have this narrow window of we're not going to charge people what it cost us to do a project last year. We're not going to charge them that number, but there's a number in between that number and code dropping to zero. It's going to be a very narrow window, 6 to 9 months. By like what you're saying, by this time next year, I think that window will have been firmly narrowed down on the cost of code generation. And so right now, if you're already transitioning, you have the opportunity from a business perspective to derive more revenue and still be cheaper than every other dev shop out there, like significantly cheaper, like half or like a quarter. Like we don't need to be greedy about this, but the fact of the matter is most projects I get these days can usually be done, with 16 hours of Claude time, or just spinning back and forth between the models. And our pricing should reflect that, right? Like I don't want to take advantage of people. I never do that. That's not the business model I want to be in. But right now there is that space where things haven't quite settled yet, and they're up there.
Let's call that out. Even if we wanted to be predatory in our pricing, other folks are going to go out and show them that no, what you're paying Atmosoft is way over the top. Now look at what we can do. It's going to be a natural conversation amongst engineers to business folks, where business folks are going to get wise that they are overpaying in this window. It doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity for folks to make some money, but if you're looking at reputationally and continuing the longevity of this career, yeah, you're going to need to adjust your pricing, and it's going to go in a downward motion for a while.
Yes.
Right? But the option is now volume. You can deliver more, you can deliver faster. I
don't see myself as, and this is one of the hardest transitions for me. I don't see myself right now anymore as a developer and engineer. I see myself as like I've been shifting out of that mindset. I'm starting to see myself more as a systems level engineer. Like you could tell the robot how to build something, and it's going to go build the code, but then you still need to think about like, okay, when this gets deployed and we're live in production, I need it to be like this, and it needs to work like this because of all these things I've learned over the 30 years of my career, and it needs, like, the robot will do it, but you're not going to get as good as output, like if you know it. So you shift your thinking into, we're going to have this MCP server, we're going to have this API layer, we're going to connect up all the data sources in the business to these MCP servers, we're going to grant access like that. That all that engineering has to still be done. But the fact of the matter is, the code that we're doing to support that is going to cost near zero, or whatever your subscription cost is, or whatever your API token.
Well, again, let's be clarified. It's near zero today because it's subsidized by investors, private equity, right?
Yeah.
So that's not going to be the case in moving forward, and that's what I continue to harp on. Like,
it's true.
This is why folks should be adopting it right now. And if we look at adoption rates, just anecdotally, the engineering staff we've talked to, which is like a handful, we're talking less than 20 folks in a total, it's about 50% adoption. And we've talked with others at large shops, and we've got friends in the industry working at various companies, and in inter-enterprise, it's like 20%. Like people really that are actually enthusiastically adopting this and saying this is where the industry's headed. It's 20%. It's 50% are adopting it, meaning 30% really don't care. It's just their boss told them they have to, so they're kind of lazily going about it. And then 50% of people just outwardly rejecting all of this and saying this is a antithesis of how I think and how I view, and going back to the death, that kind of mourning period, Bill, that you had early on when going through this. I think that's an important mental flip that people really need to
there's definitely
that ego saying I'm not my work. I'm trying to work, right, in order to provide value and food on the table for my family and my life. But like, I would love for you to kind of dive into that, because I think that's so important. Because 50% of engineers today are saying hate it, don't like it.
It's a fad.
It's the opposite of what I want to do. Those are the folks I think that are going to have the most trouble with this shift, and it's going to happen.
Like that in the beginning. I was like that.
He's not going back in the bottle. But I want to really hear from you about that shift, why you felt this way. 30 years, you're mourning this skill. You spent countless hours staring at a screen and getting really good at this, if not great, if not the best. And I really, Bill, I think it's important for folks to hear from somebody that came from that mindset. And then, we run a business, so we either are profitable, make money, or we're not. So it's really easy for us to figure out what we have to do to put food on the table. But that is a mindset shift that I think is uniquely you, and one that I believe folks really want to resonate with. So
So I started with, again, we got mentioned on vibe coding. Mention it one more time. I do not like that term at all, and I do not think you should go to production with a vibe coded app that has not been checked by a qualified engineer. I'm just gonna say that up front. There's gonna be so many problems because it's just not up to where they need to be. They're good, and they're good prototypes and they're good proof of concepts. But my transition worked like this: 30 years in development, read all the books, did the agile, did the scrum, did the waterfall, develop the code, learned the new patterns, followed the best practices for architecture, learned all the architectural patterns, learned how to develop softwares, did the transition into microservice, although I never fully bought into that one, and we can maybe argue about that some other time. But microservices weren't horrible. I just think they added unneeded complexity to most organizations. That's my stand on that. But I learned all of these things. I read all of the books, and then
gave speeches, topic,
Yeah.
right? Like, I really want to give folks a sense
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
ability,
Like,
right? You aren't just like a
gave speeches, started user groups, trained several people, just brought people up in the space and showed them how to do .NET, showed them how to work in production, showed them how to do databases, and just spent a lot of time learning this. Like 30 years, it's a significant investment. And then after I got into
Wait, Bill, what's your favorite word? Keyboard jockey, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Once I got into this, it probably took me about a month of just of working with AI and fighting against it, and then just the. I'll be honest, I was just sad. I mean, it just feels like I'm heading into retirement years, so those are getting close, and I honestly thought this was going to take me through. I was going to start my own business, run my consulting firm, and then make a little bit more money than I was making working for other people, and kind of do my own thing and learn the business side of it. And then I got faced with this, and it was like a punch in the face, like just watching the robot output a whole entire project in like 30 seconds with all the services mapped out, all the API routes done, everything. And I was just like, what am I going to do? And the biggest shift in thinking for me was one, I had to grieve the loss of that. This is important. This is grief. This is like breaking up with somebody. This is like a death in the family. I will be honest with you. Like I had some struggle sessions with it. Just perfectly honest. But you got to let it go. That's the final stage of grief is acceptance. This is here. It's coming. And is it going to take your job? No. Is your job going to go to someone who's AI enabled? If you're not, yeah, most likely that's probably what's going to happen. And I need to learn that I was not a code generator. Like that no longer was the definition of who I was as a person. I was not a coder. Like in my career, I always stopped going into management, and I always took the engineering jobs, and I always did the development, and I kind of stunted my own growth that way by not like kind of moving up the ladder. But I just wanted to be a coder. I just want to engineer, and I just want to build. And now I can build better. I can build faster. I can prompt better. I can use these tools to get from idea in my head to done in just an amazing amount of time. And so I can be faster, I can be better. And to be honest, if I take a step back after 30 years, if I'm being honest, I was kind of getting bored with writing code anyway. So like, honestly, like I was looking for more of the type of engagements we do where we come in and we help companies and we do the assessments and we do those things. I was kind of moving more into that space anyway, and then managing our team members. But this is kind of like the final nail where it was like I just don't need to be say code monkey. Don't mean that derogatory or anything, but that's just something I've heard and like. So I don't want to be a code monkey anymore. So but that mental shift required me to go through all the stages of grief. And then when I got to the other side, I was like, this is where it's at. Like, this is gonna be my last big tech push before retirement, probably. And I'm going to get on this bandwagon. I'm going to retool. I'm going to focus. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to become the best that I can be at this. I'm going to offer my clients the best in class service with AI. But that transition took me a long time.
So we're at like an hour 5 coming up, and I know we started 5 minutes in with intros and kind of just, is the microphone working, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I don't want to cut it early, but I'm just making sure that as we encapsulated in the last hour is really the journey, the personal journey, not necessarily professionally, right? We could talk till the cows come home about, we've touched on some of it, but the professional standards of how to implement AI, working with AI. But I think what's important to this conversation right now is just like the journey of how we got started and
Yes.
what we've noticed in the industry, where the industry's headed right now, what's happening actively in April 2026, where we see it shifting even by the end of this year, and by next year it's going to be even changed even further. 50% of adoption, 50% rejection. Those 50% rejection, my only plea to those folks is we need all the tech folks we can get. It's such a narrow space. There's so many people in the world, and there's still only a smaller subset of folks that actually work in tech. And I want everybody that's working in tech today to continue to see success and want to continue to work in technology. It
Why
just
would you want
requires
to
a
be
ego shift.
faster and cheaper? Like, be
Yeah.
honest. Why wouldn't you want to just do it for less and do more? Like,
And
taking a business from not doing AI to doing AI is an amazing transformation, and it's amazing to see. And it's amazing to see the productivity gains and a company really defining this is our process. This is how we do this. Customer checkout. This is actually how we do. Support tickets and getting all those things defined, because all that needs to be defined in order for you to go into this space, and just figuring out how you run your business and then where to apply this. It's amazing. It's amazing engineering problem.
Yeah, there's more exciting things, like, I'm sure if we talk to the folks at um like SpaceX, right, like how they looked at rocket shipbuilding and all the various problems associated with that, and then you have folks like Elon coming in saying let's something should break every single time we're trying to get to production, and
Yep.
eventually we start fixing those small pieces, and
Yep.
we get to a more streamlined approach. I mean,
Yep.
like, how many Windows screens do you really want to click through, or AWS, loading screens, and go to this sub menu? Like, these are skills that, like, we've had to develop in order to get the job done. But now we're at a point where you can point an agent to do this, and it's
Yeah.
just,
Deploy my container to Azure. Like,
yeah,
literally, it's done. I don't have to write all the commands. I don't have to know all the AZ commands. The robot knows everything anyway. It's got all the
that's what I'm saying.
commands
Like,
in
it's
its
this
memory.
valuable mental space for
Yep.
everybody in technology to now grab back and use for something else. Like, I really want to see the folks that are like rejecting it, and there's great reasons to reject. Like, when we talk, we're really just focused on like the digital aspect and like the work itself, encapsulating software.
Yep.
It doesn't mean we're ignoring the practicalities of data center usage, water usage, electricity usage,
Yep.
building new data centers around
Yep.
residential areas. Like, there's so many like cons that I don't want to have folks think that we're just blatantly ignoring. I am just purely saying from the standpoint of there's no putting this genie back in the bottle. Even if we did not build another data center today and we had the limited compute that we have today, there would be even more reason why you need to understand everything we're discussing. Because you now need to absolutely use your tokens in the most creative way possible to still achieve your tasks, and you're competing for compute with everybody else. And maybe there will be handwritten code still, old fashioned, but it's almost to the point where I guess, like, I've been thinking about an app description, and it's almost like weapons manufacturing. I think it was the 1800s, when we shifted from handmade guns to suddenly it was a mass production affair, and that was the best possible answer, for weapons manufacturing. And now today, I mean, there's still some like custom weapons and things of that nature, but for the vast majority, and the improvement of mass production helps for weapons. And again, I hate to use such like a more negative, nuanced topic to many folks. I could use the automobiles, right? Like, there's just like now an assembly line of source code that
Yep.
can be generated, that if you want to reject it, if you want to be the horse and buggy driver, you can. And there's still horse and buggy drivers in Central Park doing that job, but it is a very small pool of folks that are able to do that. And I'm not saying that folks can't be successful by rejecting AI. Again, there's many reasons I just listed that you absolutely could feel it's my antithesis. I just can't bring myself to do it. But the market, the competition in the space is going to bring many folks to a reality that they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to adopt something, right? I mean, if I'm wrong, Bill, just call it out.
I'm following along. Like, there are a bunch of moral questions coming up, and we'll dive into those on separate streams for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So we didn't really get into agentic, but I feel that this was an important preliminary discussion, opening, right? Talked about the history. How did we get here? Why are we experts in the space? And again, we struggle with even the title of an expert. We get calls from clients of folks recommending us from other clients we've had that said these folks are experts. Call these folks. Call Atmosoft. And I feel an awkward title to carry just because the space is so new, but we have dedicated countless hours, right? Like this has been our sole focus since last August, and we spent so much time in it that things that come natural to us, just folks just don't have the knowledge. And again, I'm sure folks will catch up and get there, but we're just continuing to grow.
This
And
learning curve was one of the hardest of my career. I will admit it. Like this learning curve has been brutal. Like it's not like some new React framework. It's not some new .NET framework version or some new C++ module or something like that. This is fundamentally different on most levels that I can identify it. And I struggled for that first month, dove in, really got my hands on it. And there's still some things that we're exploring, like what is the right mixture of models, right? If I want to maximize for the least amount of cost and getting near parity with a premium model, what does that model look like? What does my harness have to look like? And these are the battles that we're currently facing, and we'll talk about them in detail.
Yeah, and I think some folks already cover this in like their OpenClaw deployments and how they're running their agents. And listen, fantastic content is out there. Like we are not here to replicate that content. We're discussing at scale, what are we doing for our engineering, our AI engineering firm, what we do, what we offer to clients, which often are enterprise grade solutions that need to survive and persist beyond our engagement and need to be transferred and owned by the home team, right? I mean, we come in as the experts, build what folks need the most, and then we're out of there. And we need to make sure the documentation is there, the home shop is able to reconcile all the information we're giving them. We still get phone numbers, emails, contacts, and we still get calls from folks late at night saying, "Hey, this has happened. What should I do?" But we upskill and train everybody we come across for the same way. We don't want to be the only people in the room that know this information. We would love to be able to riff, get new ideas. And we're building this enterprise grade harness at this point because the thesis that when I started with Atmosoft and joined forces with Bill and the others, it came down to I have a big belief coming from a regulated industry, I come from finance, banking background, that there needs to be still a walled garden of this of the usage of agents and models within the walled garden of that enterprise. And private AI is now quickly becoming a major topic in April 2026. There was a recent law case that happened, I think it was in February and March, where third-party subscription models are subject to discovery and lawsuits, and that's quickly becoming a conversation in many counsel and legal silos of various enterprises that we need to get exclusivity or contractual obligation that this information is to remain private and is proprietary to our enterprise. So we're solving those kind of problems, and those are very difficult problems to solve. But the reason why we wanted to do that was because that's the best moat to be in, right? It's great to have somebody say, how do you build for regulated industries? How do you build for government to ensure that nothing is leaving this walled garden, right? Because too often we're seeing leaks and using, like, back to the vibe coded side of it, non-engineering folks vibe coding apps, their API keys left plain text readable. Like there's just so many issues that folks are coming up with, and the term everybody knows globally is AI slop, right? Folks are just seeing this stuff and they know that there's a better way to build this. So that's our spiel. That's what makes us unique. I think that is something that we're going to continue to have a reoccurring trend is, well, how are we building for enterprise? What are the best, what do we recommend as industry best practices, right? Which align with current standards already. And how are we seeing that evolve with usage of AI, usage of the models rotation you're going to be using in your solutions, where stuff is spun up, where it's hosted, what's the infrastructure look like, what are the protections around the data that's being called. Where does your MCP server send that information, right? Like there's just so many nuanced topics. I think that's where a majority of our time will be better spent than trying to just talk about what's already being discussed in many other channels. Bill, is there other things I'm missing? I think that encapsulates a lot of it, but I know
I think just point out, like, if you're an engineer or if you're a technical person and you want to get started with this, what's the one thing we all hate doing? Documentation. And if you're a developer or engineer, like unit testing, right? Get in with the robot and have it write your documentation. There's no reason today to have any of your documentation, your API documentation, all your documentation to be out of date at all. It can be current instantaneously, couple hours effort of having it go through the code and generate all your documents. If your code's not documented at all, now is the perfect time to get your feet wet and jump in and get this done. I will throw out one caveat. I'm sure you guys have all heard about OpenClaw. If you're playing around with that, be super careful. Like they've done a lot of security patches. It's in a better state than when it first released. But if you're playing with OpenClaw, just be super careful that you don't lose all your stuff.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And to opine on Bill's point, if you are going to use AI to update your documentation or just do any documentation, again, going back to what I mentioned, any information you're putting into the frontier models is game for discovery in future. Again, at this point, council is not recommending that you use that. So just be careful about how you're leveraging models, right? I mean, I don't want to just blanket say do this. I do want to give the caveat that if there's non-proprietary information that you're inserting into models or intellectual property of some sort, don't do that. Or talk with your cybersecurity team and your council team about how to best
if
do
your
that.
organization does not have an AI policy, you should push to get one. You can easily cross lines here.
Yes.
And your organization needs to tell you, like, it needs to define where those lines are and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. The last thing I want to do is hear a story from someone getting fired because they went out and did this and they did something useful, but this leaked or that leaked.
I would say if folks are interested, right, because we've got folks watching this, please email us, right? Do we have a help at Atmosoft, Bill?
Huh?
Do we have help at Atmosoft?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so email help at Atmosoft with any questions you might have. I know some folks are small shops, solo devs, with the mandate of get this done. We can help folks out, send out like an AI template policy that fits most organizations, maybe not all, and it gives you a good starting point. That's what I recommend. But as always, right, make sure you're doing. Be careful, right? Like the information you have, it's often the lifeblood of the company, and especially in small startups, right? You develop an application, it's your secret sauce. So don't be in a rush to put that into a model if you already haven't, or don't have the junior engineers. You really just want to limit access. There's just it's still a wild west, right? And
yes, it is.
We're trying to give the best industry specific information possible for folks to be successful long term.
Yep.
Right? So that's what I'm saying here. Bill, any closeout? Let me take a look at
go use the models, man. Like everybody, like go get a ChatGPT, pay $20. Go get if you want to get adventurous and try to do your own code. Go get a subscription to Claude. Or CLI or Codex. I will recommend this. Like, get out of the browser. Like, just get out of the browser. If you're just using ChatGPT and you're pasting stuff into ChatGPT, get out of the browser. Like, you just need to be done with that. It's cool for when Patty's doing notes like this. It's cool for doing summaries. But if you're uploading documents constantly to ChatGPT and you're setting up projects and you're doing it all in your web browser, you're not taking advantage of what you can do out here.
That's the best way to end this. In the future, we'll have a little bit more. I think we've been pretty cohesive and stuck to a stream of
Yeah,
consciousness.
kept me
that
on
makes sense.
track today, which is always good. I will tangent.
No, and that's fine. I just want to make sure moving forward, viewership that's watching this current now and in the future, that we're going to align a more structured approach for how we tackle these kind of fireside chats, because we want to give folks something to skip to. I mean, even when I watch a YouTube video, if I only care about one of the topics, I'll skip to just that topic with the viewers, with what the speaker is discussing. So I want to make sure that we tighten it up. So again, it's our first time tackling this fireside chat. Bill and I are adept at speaking publicly. We're fine, but we definitely acknowledge there's always room for improvement. And as we continue to do these kind of fireside chats, I expect things to tighten up naturally. But please bear with us for the first few as we kind of nail down
I agree.
a format that makes sense.
I have one more comment. It's never the right time. Just go do it right now.
Yeah.
Like seriously, just go do it. Just do it. It's never the right time. It's never going to be perfect situation. All the stars are never going to align. Action over reading and studying. Like, go do it.
Go break stuff.
Go
make it happen. Just
go turn your app into a reality right now today. And then just remember, when you get ready to go live, you really want to engineer and take a look at your stuff before you push that button. And we're happy to do that if you guys want to reach out to us.
help@atmosoft.com.
Yep.
That's it. All right. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having this conversation today.
Yeah. That's
Enjoy
fun.
it.
See you next time.
See you.